ABC 24 anchor Pepper Baker, and we are interviewing all of the mayoral candidates for Shelby County Mayor. So today we are here at the table with Shelby County Criminal Court Clerk Heidi Kuhn. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect. All right, so let's get started. Why do you think now is the time to run for Shelby County Mayor?
So now is the time because before I made the decision, I talked to a lot of Shelby Countyans, and the general consensus is they want something different. They want a change. And my great mentor, the past mayor, Bill Morris, and I had lunch, and he said to me, and I won't use his language, but he said, well, Heidi, why the bleep not, right? He said, you've already done the work, so why not just take this next step? He said, this is your time and it's our future. So that's how I've been going at it, is because I truly believe it is my time and it's the future of Shelby Countyans. And so that was really the decision, because I love Shelby County. I have no higher aspirations. I just want to see the betterment for Shelby Countyans.
Okay, yeah, and with mentors like Bill Morris, I mean, you've had such a robust career already in Shelby County government. You've seen how resources and services have been utilized in different aspects, from health, crime, victim support, community outreach, training, it goes on. But how does that experience set you apart from your competitors?
Pepper, it sets me apart because I've done the work. I've been in the community. I haven't just been on the outside looking in. I have conceptualized programs, I've implemented programs, I've got funding for programs, I've fought for programs, and I've fought for the community. I'm the only candidate that has that experience, and it shows in my heart and in my mind. And so I truly believe that's what sets me apart, is because I've got 25 plus years of experience in Shelby County government. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the ugly. And I want to make sure that I collectively choose the things that I've seen that works and possibly change the things that don't and implement those for Shelby Countyans.
Yes, and your most recent role, you were elected as Shelby County Criminal Court Clerk in 2018, I believe, right?
Yes, correct.
So how would you describe how you've managed that office?
When I was elected in 2018, the first thing I did was ask for an audit, because I wanted to make sure that the public could trust me, and I'm a big proponent of transparency. And so we did a forensic audit in which discovered some things that were not so savory from the past administration. So I wanted to correct those and be on equal footing and making sure that the community understands what we do and how we do it, and that I was a proponent of making sure that people understood the work of the Criminal Court Clerk's office. So that was the one thing that I wanted to do right away. Then after that, I wanted to make sure that our technology had improved and that we had access. Most people don't know what the Criminal Court Clerk's office does,
right,
unless they touch it, in which I wanted to make sure people had an understanding of what we did, because a lot of people don't know what we do until it's election time. But I think I've also created what many people have heard, it's now a buzzword, is expungements. And I have almost hit 10,000 expungements for Shelby Countyans. And that is a huge feat, because now these individuals have been offered opportunities to go to work, go back to school, get a loan, buy a home, and become productive citizens. And so I think people have a better understanding now of what the Criminal Court Clerk's office does. I've changed the culture, and we've changed the community just by these expungements.
So your work as Criminal Court Clerk, as you just described, will definitely come in handy, but there are other Shelby County clerk offices that may not have been run as well as yours. So as mayor, how will you get a handle on those offices?
I think the first thing is communication. I think there is truly a lack of communication right now. Everybody seems to be working in their own silo, and we are not working collectively for the greater good. And so I think it's really important for us to communicate and have an understanding about what each elected official is doing and how we can work together and how we can partner for either resources or making sure that we have cross functions. You know, we're not just working by ourselves, because that's not going to work. That's not going to help Shelby County. And we have a serious issue right now with miscommunication and lack of trust, and people are just totally disenfranchised with government.
And you also mentioned the basically record number or high number of expungements that you've been able to complete. But Shelby County has had a narrative of of not being tough enough on crime. So when you talk about expungements, that is positive, but some people may feel like maybe that's a little too much given maybe some criminals need to stay behind bars. So what would you have to say in response to some of the naysayers who say that Shelby County leaders or the DA's office isn't tough enough on crime?
Well, let me address what you just said about expungements, because I think there are some individuals that don't understand it. And so they need to understand that these are for lower level, nonviolent crimes. We're not letting out rapists, murderers, things like that.
Good to be specific.
Yes, yes. And you can only receive either one felony and one misdemeanor or two misdemeanors to be expunged. And they have to fulfill all the requirements before they are expunged. Now, these are typically lower level drug-related charges that have been holding people back from getting a job. And if we are looking at crime prevention, granted, we are a small cog in the wheel of justice, but a cog nevertheless. And so the the criminal court clerk's office has these expungements to help individuals so that we can lower the crime rate and reduce the recidivism. So that's part of the prevention programming. But I also think that we need to look at crime in a different way. And becoming mayor, I think, unfortunately, the MPD and the sheriff's office don't communicate effectively. I remember a long time ago when I was on the crime commission, when I was the crime victim center director, we had community policing. We don't have that anymore. And I think there used to be, I think most people would remember officer friendly. We don't have that anymore because people are afraid of the police. We used to have them in community centers. They were shown in schools. We don't have that. And I think we need to include that. We also used to have task forces of drug task force, DV task force, crisis task force. We're not working like that together any longer. There's such a separation of duties, and I would like to see them combined once again.
Okay, yeah, crime prevention was one of the questions here, so you excellently answered that. So I do want to get into Shelby County as a whole. So crime, obviously, which you've already addressed here, is top of mind for a lot of people. But what would you say are Shelby County's most pressing issues?
I think one of the pressing issues is the fact that Shelby Countyans have lost hope. And I'm not saying that hope is just a feeling, but hope is an action. They just haven't seen action. And they feel unsafe, and they can't go out into their neighborhoods, they can't go out into the community, because there's such a great fear of crime. Most people would go to Grizzly games or the concerts at FedEx, and then afterwards spill out onto Beale Street, have a good time. Most people are going home now because they are such a fear. And so, of course, top of mind is crime. But something also that I'm hearing when I'm having these conversations with individuals is blight and litter. And I agree. When I drive to work, when I drive all the way down 240 to downtown, the entrance into 240 or the entrance into Shelby County, whether you're coming from Nashville or whether you're coming from the airport, is so dirty. And there's so much litter. And we used to be the most beautiful city in the nation, and now we've lost that. So I want to make sure that we clean up Shelby County, not just with crime, but also with blight and with litter. And we also have issues with education. Everybody is concerned about education right now. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to improve it? What are we going to do with the school board? What are we going to do with new schools? And I think we really need to look at that as, is there a possibility that we could expand pre-K? And let's look at maybe serving 3-year-olds instead of just 4-year-olds. What about offering affordable daycare? I mean, these are all issues for individuals. There is a lot to improve on, but we've had these issues. This did not happen overnight, so it can't be remedied overnight, but we can work towards solutions together.
Most definitely. You touched on a lot there. Since education was one of the topics I had written down as well, lots of talk around MSCS, not only the board, but also superintendent and, of course, the looming state intervention.
Sure.
I have to ask, as mayor, where do you see your role? Do you support the local control? Do you think that there should be some state intervention to some degree, or what are your thoughts of how the mayor would step in?
I think in regard to that, I think the mayor needs to be the conduit to communication. I think that there's this lack of communication on what needs to be done. the mayor doesn't have any say in what the school board does. We provide funding for the school board, so we need to look at and focus on how we can educate the young and for the betterment of the children. I don't necessarily think that we need to be a part of the decision-making process. That's more of the school board and the state if they choose to do that. But I just truly believe that we need to look at the children and how we can improve education and how we can improve the scores, the testing scores, how can we improve the literacy rate, things like that is what we should be focusing on.
Okay, and your approach to all of these things obviously is probably going to go into my next question. So we've seen a declining population within Shelby County. So how do you effectively try to get people here? How do you attract families and people to come in and live in Shelby County and find stake here? I mean, you probably touched on it already, but just what would be your approach as mayor?
Well, what's interesting to me is like we're always trying to dangle that carrot, like come into our county, come into our city. But the problem is we aren't helping the people that are already here. There is a reason why they're leaving, and I think we've lost close to 30,000 people. It's the schools, it's the crime, it's the litter, it's the government, it's all of it. So we need to improve Shelby County first before we can invite people to come in. Once they see that we're flourishing and we are succeeding, then people are going to want to live here. But let's get back to some of the basics. Let's improve our education system. Let's lower our crime rate. Let's better our schools. Let's better and have a more beautiful Shelby County. Let's stop being at the top of the list for the worst things, and let's change that narrative and have it be that the positive outshines the negative.
Okay, and kind of doubling back to crime, but more so criminal justice here, because we kind of skipped through some of the way I had it ordered. But regardless, 201 Poplar. So whoever the new mayor is going to probably have to deal with that hands-on, particularly because a lot of the discussion of a new site is happening right now.
Yeah.
Do you think there is a need for a new jail, or what are your thoughts on the managerial issues versus the infrastructure issues?
So I work at 201.
There you go.
And I don't even like going there, right? So I understand, but this is more than bricks and mortar, okay? I think we do need a new jail. We don't need to renovate, but we need to be very careful about, yes, we need to build one, but let's also think about mental health. Let's think about addiction. Let's think about the process and the operations and intake, not just about where are we going to build this. I have an idea of, I think we should go back to Shelby Farms, to the correction center. I'm not sure that that the government should be in the business of corrections. So if we look at the state taking over, then they can take our federal and our felony cases. We can keep the misdemeanors. That would clear out half of corrections. We could utilize that and renovate it as a jail. But not only that, we need to have services so that when an individual walks out of jail, it's not a cold handoff. We need to reduce that recidivism rate. How do we do that? You have services within the jail. You have mental health services. You have unhoused services. You have addiction services. So they're getting those things immediately before they walk out the door and not saying, okay, good luck to you, and hope that they don't come back. I think we need to look at the holistic approach. It's not just, again, about a building, it's processes, and how are we going to help the people that are in jail, and how are we going to help the people that are getting out of jail.
And as far as staffing for all of that too, I mean, Sheriff Bonner has talked about how he's having trouble filling those positions. How do you see recruitment going?
Well, I am the only candidate that has some law enforcement experience. So I worked for the sheriff. And how we looked at it, it is very difficult to recruit. And again, I go back to the statement as no one wants to be in law enforcement because of how they're treated and how the public sees them. So I understand it is difficult. I have talked to Sheriff Bonner about the possibility of, could we do some sort of training where an individual starts in the jail and then they progress through and maybe then become patrol and then go to something else, so that we don't have just the same individuals. There's a training mechanism for all these individuals. And he said that is great, but the problem is that they need patrolmen. So if they start in the jail, then they're deficient in some area. But it is a problem, and I think that we need to look at how can we improve on who we're recruiting, how we're recruiting, and the type of training that we're doing.
Okay, so a lot of your language here is collaboration and the communication piece and just getting level with everybody, because like you said, it seems like everybody's working in their different silos. So I love that idea. So my next question, and we only have a few left here, is we've seen the contentious relationship between the current mayor's office and some of the commissioners.
Yes.
And the two, have to work together to get business done. So how do you think as mayor that you will be able to bring either a new relationship or a different approach, or how do you find that balance of respect between the mayor's office and the county commission?
I've always been known to be a collaborator and a consensus builder and a communicator. So I think the first thing I would do is to bring all the new electeds together. And I think we need to have that conversation and figure out how can we work together. Because you're right, and it's not just the mayor's office and commission, it is countywide. Because my understanding is, and I've had conversations with the municipal mayors, there's not a lot of communication between the Shelby County mayor and the municipal mayors. The Shelby County mayor is the mayor for the entire Shelby County, where it can't just be Memphis-centric. It's got to be the entire Shelby County, and you have to represent everyone. And so having those conversations, making sure that we're working together, because if we can't work together, we're not going to get anywhere. We're going to continue on this downward spiral. And I think that is part of the problem. I understand why people don't trust government, because they turn on the TV or they watch these commission meetings, and it's a circus. It's crazy. And we are probably going to see a lot of newly elected individuals in 2026. And I think my first 30 days would be to sit down with everybody, have a conversation, and continue that conversation, because the communication is lacking. What can you offer? How can we improve? Let's set some goals for the county and prioritize what those goals are and work on them strategically.
Okay, I like that. Now, why do you think you resonate with voters?
I don't know if I resonate with voters because that is their opinion, but what I can say is I'm the candidate who has done the work. I have been in the community, and so I think that if individuals want a mayor who has the experience and the track record of achievement in government, as well as the achievement and lack of, not lack of, but has the experience and the achievements in the community, then I would be the person for them. Because we need to make sure that the next mayor is somebody who is dedicated to Shelby County, who is committed to Shelby County, who has worked with the community. That's what I'm about. I'm about the betterment of the community of Shelby County. I am not a political person. I am a public servant, and my 25 plus years in county government has shown that. All the way from what I've done from the health department to the crime victim center to community services to law enforcement to my current role as criminal court clerk. It's important to me to make sure that Shelby is a place where people want to live, work, and play.
That is powerful. Now, a lot of times, whoever the front runners are in the race has a lot to do with their fundraising. So I do want to ask you how your fundraising effort's going.
Well, now you know that I was the last one to announce,
Right.
And so some of them have gotten a head start, but I feel very confident in our fundraising efforts, and we have created a campaign and a grassroots effort, and that I feel that we're on a trajectory to win.
Okay. And what you don't get in finances sometimes makes up for an endorsement. So any endorsements that you're banking on or willing to share with us?
Endorsements is you got to talk to the people in Shelby County. I think that there is an apathy with voting right now, and as long as you can get out and really sell yourself and make sure people know who you are, it's only the endorsements and the votes is who's going to win. It doesn't matter how many endorsements you have. And I've received several previously and currently, but the endorsement of Shelby County is really what I'm looking for.
Okay. Last two questions here. So one, we didn't touch a lot on the budget. So you'll be dealing, as mayor, you would be dealing with a very big budget. And with criminal court clerk work, I know that you are probably very organized and run a tight ship. So how do you see just being able to handle the money and what gets allotted to what and grants and all of that?
Well, we're in a crisis right now with the budget, and it's very concerning. And it's concerning of what I am going to receive when I step into office. But I think, again, it's having that communication with the commissioners, making sure that the elected officials, because I have felt left out of the budget process previously, and making sure that we're including everyone in the budget process. I also have a concern that currently, when we're looking at the general fund, we are funding things outside of county government. We really need to fund those essential services within the government and not fund outside entities. And I look at it this way, Pepper. I look at it as we need to feed our family before we feed our neighbor. I don't disagree that the community enhancement grants are a good thing, but we need to look at what we're spending in the general budget, because currently some of those things are in the budget. And so I just recently went in front of commission requesting money for technology advancements and was denied because there just isn't any money in the budget. But then I have a concern that we're providing money to nonprofits with our county budget. And so we really need to look at the process. We really need to make sure that things are being paid for that are essential in the budget and within county government, and not paying for things outside of the government.
That is an important note to make. My last question for you, just why should Shelby County voters vote for you?
Because I think that they've seen the work that I do. They know that I've been in the community. They know that for the last 25 plus years, I have a record of achievement. I'm the only candidate with that record of achievement and with this experience. So if they want someone different and they want someone who sets themselves apart from everyone else, then that would be me.
Okay, well said. I think you did yourself proud there. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you're really busy, so thank you for fitting us in your
Appreciate
schedule.
it.
And to watch the rest of our Shelby County mayoral candidates, make sure you go to abc24.com or our 24 Plus stream, or of course catch it on our newscasts. The voters will head to the polls May of 2026 for the primaries before the actual mayoral race later on that year. So we still have some time. But thank you for watching, and make sure to catch the rest of the candidate profiles.